Hey everybody, it's Dana and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm joining in with the Altenew Video Hop. So let's go ahead and get started. Now I'm using a piece of white cardstock here and I'm going to use the Altenew Wildflower Bouquet. I love this bouquet and how it builds up beautifully on a card, and that's all done by some layering stencils. So I'm going to start with one of the stems. Now, within this stencil, it's really cool because there's several parts on one stencil, and you just rotate the stencil to kind of build up the design. And I think this is actually kind of magical. Now, all of the ink colors I'm using are going to be listed down below, but I started out with frayed leaf, and I'm using a small mini brush here to go ahead and add in that color. Now it's super easy to line up the stencil to build up your bouquet. Now, if you forget to do a piece or you miss a step, don't worry about it because you'll see I do that a little bit later, but you can always come back and correct it. Now I can go ahead and shift that stencil over just a little bit, and you're going to see grooves within the stencil that shows you exactly where to line up. And then I can go ahead and start doing the rest of my greenery. So there are 3 sections on here of greenery, and you can really choose different colors to make this work. So for my next color, I'm going to do the moss. And again, I'm using an Altenew mini blending brush, and I'm actually using the same exact brush for all of this. I'm just cleaning it off when I move to my next color. Lastly, I can come in, line up that stencil with those little tick marks, and I can come in with my last color. That's what I think is really so cool about this stencil, is that you're going to get all the greenery sections on one, and then in the other one, you're going to get all the flower tops. So the last color I'm using here is Forest Glades. So I'm going to have a nice pretty color combination of greenery on here instead of it all just being one color. One more time, I will come in with that small blending brush and go ahead and finish up the leaves. Now, once the leaves are done, it might look a little bit odd to you, but that's when we're going to pull in that different stencil, that second stencil, to start doing the tops. Now within this stencil, again, you're going to have several areas on here, and you're just going to rotate these around until they line up with the flowers, and you're going to do the same exact thing that you did when you did the leaves. So as you can see here, I'm just lining up my flowers. You can easily see where that top flower is. You can go ahead and line that up, and all the rest of the flowers are going to fall into place for this layer. So as you can see, I have the top one, the two on the side, and the one at the bottom. And I'm just going to go ahead and start with my top one. Now for this one here, I use Pastel Sunrise. I'm going to start adding that to the top of my flower. And again, I'm going to do the same exact thing that I did with the leaves. I'm going to come in, I'm going to build up that color, and then I'm going to work my way through the rest of my flowers. Now, if you wanted to, you can make all of the flowers the same color, or you can mix them up how I'm doing here. So once I finish the top layer of this one, I go ahead and I just move over and I'm doing the rest of my flowers. I did choose to do these in different colors. So the first color I used was the Pastel Sunset, and then I'm going to come in with the Ice Water. And that is going to be a really pretty light blue that we're going to add to the card here. And again, I'm just picking certain sections in order to place these colors. Now, if you wanted to, you can totally use the guide that's in the book, and that's going to give you lovely color combinations as well. That's the good thing about Altenew. They really give you great layering guides, so you know if you want to just mirror what they already have, or you can come up with your own color combinations. For the yellow, I did add in a bit of butternut for this. And again, this is all of the first layer that I'm doing here. Now I'm going to finish up with this beautiful pale mauve, and that's going to be a gorgeous purple. And now we have this beautiful bouquet. We're going to step this up just a little bit. So what I want to do first is just kind of clean off my stencil. And then I'm going to rotate my stencil, and I'm going to add in the rest of the petals. All of this lines up. So as you can see, I can line up. I always go with that top petal, and that helps me line everything up. So you can see I have white areas that I need to fill in with color. Now this is going to be how it is for the entire stencil or our entire bouquet. You're really just rotating that stencil and picking different areas to line up in order to build this bouquet. Now, like I said before, I went ahead and I'm going right back through the colors that I had. I'm just going a shade darker in each one. So for the pink, I'm using the Canyon Clay. For the blue, I'm going to use Polar Bear. And then we'll get into the purple a little bit later. Now, once I have this all colored up, you're going to be able to see just how gorgeous this is. Now, again, I did use varying colors here, but again, if you wanted to keep it simple, you can do all the colors or all the flowers all in one color, and it will also still be so beautiful. So I have these little points here off to the side, and those are the last two that I need to do. I can go ahead and line those up, and I'm going to come in with that pale mauve again. So once I had finished the bouquet, that's when I realized I forgot to do these two flowers. So remember, if you end up missing a step, it's okay. You can go back in and fill it in. And that's what's so great about building up with this stencil. You'll realize that, oh, I have a stem that does not have a flower on it. So then you know just to have to go back in and fill in that section. It's really, really easy. So now I have this beautiful light wash of color over this soft bouquet. Now we need to start adding in some filler pieces. This is going to give us like the definition. But before I do that, I do want to make sure that I finish off the stenciling part of this, and that is adding the centers to my flowers. So again, I'm going to use my top flower as my starting point. And as you can see, once I put that stencil up there, you're going to see that my other two circles fall right on top of my flowers. Like I said, you can really look at the guide that's included with the stencil to help you line up as well. But it is really, really simple to do. Now for the centers of the flowers, I did want to come in with a darker color yellow. So for my yellow, I'm going to use, this is Sicilian Amber. This is a really nice, like almost a burnt yellow color. And I'm going to finish off these flowers by just adding that the Sicilian Amber right in the middle of these flowers. Now, once I'm completed here, that is everything we have to do for the stenciling. Now, you could leave it just like this, but we're going to add some dimension because within the Altenew Wildflower Bouquet, there is a stamp set. This is the stamp set that comes with this, and right there on the bottom, you're going to see pieces that are going to incorporate into what we already stencil. Once again, you can use the packaging for this to line everything up, but it is rather simple. Now to get everything lined up, I am going to bring in my MISTI, and I'll place that in my MISTI. Then I can go ahead and grab the pieces that I need. So these longer ones are going to go onto my purple flowers. I have some little pieces that need to go on my yellow flowers, and I do have a piece that needs to go onto that top flower. Again, lining these up are super easy. Sorry, I just need to get my head kind of over where I was. And then I can go ahead and start lining up the rest of these. Now, once everything is lined up, I'm going to go ahead and start stamping in some of the contrasting colors. So for the yellow here, I went back and I'm going to use that Sicilian Amber to really darken up that yellow area. And then for the purple, I'm using an amethyst. Now, these stamps were really easy to line up, and they really do give a nice pop to the stencil background. As you can see, we have a lot of definition with this. I do go ahead and stamp this twice just so I can get it nice and dark. Now, once I have these stamped, I do have to stamp that little one that's sitting up on the left side of the panel. I forgot to actually lay down that stamp, but we'll go back and correct that. So as you can see, using that and stamping it twice really gives us a great definition. Now I can go back in, excuse my head one more time because I just need to stand up and kind of get over this. I can go ahead and line up that last one. And again, that was done in the pale mauve. So I am going to stamp that with the amethyst as well. I really think adding this in a stamp instead of using it as a stencil really does make this pop just a little bit more. So once I get that lined up, I can go ahead and close down my MISTI lid. And again, I'm going to use that amethyst to add to that contrast of this. And I'm so sorry, my head keeps getting in the way. All right, one more time we'll do that because I just want to make sure everything is coordinated, and look how gorgeous this is. This makes such a beautiful background. Now I am going to use the coordinating die with this, but if you didn't want to use the die, you could just leave this on here and stamp your sentiment right on top or below. You can also trim this down to an A2 size card panel. All right, here is my bouquet and it looks gorgeous, but I did feel I wanted to add a little bit of color to the background. So I'm going to make that really, really easy on myself. I'm going to come in with a larger blending brush and I'm going to use those same colors that I used with my stencil to create some stripes on my background. So I'm going to first come in with that polar bear, which is that really gorgeous blue, and I'm going to lay that down kind of towards the middle of my panel. And again, using a larger blending brush is always going to give me a softer look. So you can see I have that nice stripe of blue behind. Now I want to go ahead and grab two more colors that I use within the stencil to build up this background. So once I'm done with the blue, I'm going to switch out my blending tools and I'm going to come in with some yellow. This is called Warm Sunshine. And again, you guys have heard me say before, I'd like to keep my color combinations fluid throughout my cards. And this is a great way to do that. Now, if you didn't want to do this, you could just use colored cardstock. But I like having these three colors that have been pulled from the main image to be repeated onto this card base. So once I finish up the yellow, I can go ahead and move into our next color. Now I will go ahead and spin that card panel around. And for that last color, I'm going to bring in some of that pink that we use. So I'm going to use the Canon clay for this. Again, a larger blending brush. And I'm doing the same thing. I'm bringing in that color. This is just going to give me a really nice, colorful, but light and soft background for my little bouquet to sit on. Now, I did want to add a little bit of shimmer to this, so I just went ahead and grabbed some iridescent shimmer spray, and that is actually going to give me like a frosty little look to my paper that's going to work perfectly with the bouquet. So I do make sure to clean off my nozzles anytime I am using any of my sprays to make sure that they don't clog, and then I can go ahead and heat set this. Now, again, this gives it kind of like a pearlescent kind of look to that background. It's going to be lovely for this card. Now, I did trim down my card panel to have a little bit of a white border peeking through from my card base. So you can really see like the sparkle on this now when I put it against that white card base. All right, now all I have to do is adhere this down. Now, if you really wanted to make this, the color like really go through this card, you can actually have a colored piece of cardstock behind this panel. But I wanted to kind of keep this a little bit softer. And by just trimming that down and adding the white is actually going to draw your eye towards the center of this card. So look how gorgeous this looks on here. So now for this, I decided to just leave this flat because I'm going to put this in the mail and I really didn't want it to have any extra bulk. So instead of popping this up, which I could have easily did, I just decided to add a little bit of adhesive and place this directly down on the card. Now, once I have this done, you could really just stop here and this would be a beautiful card. And sometimes I make cards like this and I don't put a sentiment on it yet because I'm not sure what I want to use for the card. If I want it to be a birthday card, a just for you card, a thinking of you, a hello, a sympathy card. So sometimes when you don't add any sentiment, it is perfect. Hold on to that card until you figure out what you want to do. Now, I did know that I wanted to use one of the sentiments from the stamp set, and I stamped out the Just For You. Now, I stamped that out off screen, and I did stamp it in the Sicilian amber in order to keep, remember, I'm keeping that color palette going. And because this was a darker color, it was going to allow the sentiment to stand out a little bit. Now, I did pop this up on foam tapes because I did decide that I wanted just a little bit of dimension on my card. So that's why I went ahead and I used the strips. Now I just need to pick where I want it, and I think I'll have it sit down towards the bottom. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell so I can see you guys in another video soon. Make sure to hop around and see what the other creative people have done for this hop, and I'm sure you're going to be inspired by this release. Have a fantastic day, everybody, and I will see you back in another card video soon. Take care. Bye-bye.